Hey guys, it's Helen Hartsmith here again from the Heart of the Witch's Path YouTube channel. Hope you're having a good day. I am doing a book review. I'm so stoked. I finished a book. I probably should have finished it a long time ago, but well, sometimes I read a lot and sometimes I don't read at all. So anyhow, let's get into it. So here we have the book. Now, I say that I should have finished it a long time ago because it's not super big. But the book that I'm talking about today is the Pagan Portals book on Brigid. And this book is by Morgan Daimler. I think that might be how it is pronounced. This book is put out by Moon Books. And I found this book recently in one of my local New Age stores, and I was intrigued by it because I was looking at the books, and there were like all these teensy little books around on various subjects, and I'm like, what's going on here? And so of course I had to get the Brigid one. Come on, and so I did some research. So Moon Books is out of Winchester, UK and Washington, USA. This is a 2016 copyright. And this book is just under 100 pages. It's actually right around 90 pages, I think. And I have to tell you that I am digging this book quite a bit. And actually Pagan Portals looks as if it's a series of books that's done by Moon Books that are dealing with, there's a lot of deities that they're dealing with. So it's a 100-page book, which I think is kind of a nice little introductory size book. So if there's a deity that you're interested in, there's quite a few from various pantheons, which that's really cool. They're also dealing with some subject matter like trying to remember, like the Tuatha De Danann, I think there might be one on. There's another series of books too by Moon Books that are called it's all shaman subject matter. I can't remember what the series is called. Shamanistic something or other. But it's really interesting. And so these books are all retailing for $11, it looks like. They're available on Amazon. They're available in your local New Age stores. So that's kind of cool. So what did I think about the book? Well, having worked with Brigid for a number of years, there were some things in here that I hadn't heard of before. So that was always kind of cool. Or that is always kind of cool. So Morgan did a really great job. She did a very scholarly job of looking at the ancient poetry and the scholarly works that have come from, because let's face it, for those of you who don't know, Brigid is part of the Celtic pantheon, and she is a goddess that has some different aspects to her. Some look at her as a triple goddess, as having, like a maiden mother crone type aspects. She's also looked at, as a separate, individual. Some see her as a blacksmith goddess. Some see her as a goddess of poetry. Some see her as a healing goddess. She's got there's a lot of depth to her as an individual, which is kind of nice. So I really dig the fact that Morgan definitely did her homework when it came to writing this book, because the Celts didn't have a written language. Everything was done, by mouth, by, bardic, poetry or singing and things like that. So we don't have a lot of written records about the Celts and their gods. So what we do have, there's some scholarly lookings at there, basically. So I really enjoyed the fact that she broke this up very nicely into kind of giving an overview, because another aspect of Brigid, for those of you who aren't familiar with her, is there is a Saint Brigid that was decanonized and things like that, but that was part of the Catholic religion. And there is a well in Ireland, in Kildare, that is sacred to Brigid. And there is a flame that was tended there for a really long time, and things like that. And so Morgan does a good job of covering the history of Brigid. She also does a great job of talking about how Brigid is known in various locations, because one thing that you have to remember about the Celts is that they weren't limited to just the Isles. It wasn't just Ireland or Scotland or, Britain for that matter. Celts also were on mainland Europe in like France and Germany, in those areas. And so she talks about these aspects of Brigid that we're seeing in various parts of the world. And so she talks about, what Brigid was known, what her name was in Scotland, and what were, some, why can't I think of the words today? Some of the traditions that were involved around her and things like that. So what Brigid was like in England, what she was like in Wales, because it was very different in these different areas. So that I think she did a really great job. One thing that I really appreciate too is that in these chapters, as Morgan is talking about Brigid in these different ways, she always ends the chapter by talking about Brigid in my life. So how does Brigid work with her in her life and in her practice? So I think I appreciate that the most, because it's always neat to see how another individual works with Brigid in their life, and contrast it to how I work with her in mine. And there was a couple of things in here that I was kind of like, oh, that's really cool, I might steal that. So she talks about the mythology. I'm just kind of blowing through here quickly. She also includes some of the poetry, which is nice. There's a really great chapter on symbols, animals, and holidays, which that's nice, because there's a lot of those that are associated with Brigid. She especially talks about Imbolc, because the Sabbath of Imbolc is directly related to Brigid, so that was nice. And then another interesting thing too was she took a chapter and talked about modern times and how Brigid associates with us in our modern age. So I thought that was there was some interesting takes there too, some interesting things that she pointed out. So I kind of liked that. She also has a whole section that's got prayers and chants and charms in it. So that was nice. And then another thing that I really appreciated about this book is really packed with information. There's not, I don't think there was any pictures throughout it's all text. And so that was cool, because it's not a big book. So I'm glad that there wasn't a bunch of pictures that that took away room from information, kind of a thing. Anyhow, one thing that I totally dug was that she's got this whole appendix that's all mixed media resources. So she shared some good fiction that's associated with Brigid, which one of them happens to be the Iron Druid Chronicles by Kevin Hearn, which is like one of my favorites. There's music. There's statuary. So if you were interested in a Brigid statue, she lists a couple of resources on where you can go purchase one. So that's kind of cool. There's artwork, there's websites and blogs, and there's organizations. So I thought that that was really cool. I mean, she really included some really great information, a great bibliography, which I thought is amazing. And she did a lot of end notes. She did a lot of notations too. So if she was writing along and there was something that that she wanted to kind of expand on, she didn't kind of take you off on a tangent in the text. She has this whole section of end notes where you can go through and read it in that format. So I get the idea that maybe she's an academic in some capacity. She is a poet, a blogger, a teacher of esoteric subjects, witch, druid, dedicate of Maca, and wandering priestess of Odin, located in Connecticut. Miss Morgan Daimler is. And well, I don't know if she's a miss or not, but I tend to say miss if I respect somebody. So I really enjoyed this book. I think that the only thing that detracts for me for this book is the price. I think $11 might be a bit steep for something along like this. If it were, it's not a big difference, but if it were more in like the $10 range, I would be super stoked. But it's not gonna detract away from the final broom count, so to speak. I would give this book a solid 4 out of 5. I think this is great for someone who's, like I said earlier in the video, if you're looking for information about a particular deity or something like that, if somebody was new to Brigid, this is a resource that is going to tell you what you need to know. It's good, solid information that's not, you know, an 1.5 inch thick book that could like make you not want to read it, kind of a thing. It's a very welcoming size. It travels well. It'll fit in a purse or in a book or a bag or whatever. I mean, I took this back and forth to work with me in my purse. So, I mean, it's nice. And like I said, there are quite a few. I don't know how many books there are in the Pagan Portals series, but I did pick up another one. So coming up soon, I'll be, you know, I had to get Odin to go with Brigid. These are my two peeps. So yeah, I do have another one that I want to check out. So if you want me to do a review for this book when I'm done with it, and look, it's done by the same person. How cool is that? So if you want me to do a review on this book, I would be glad to do so. Just let me know. So I'm kind of intrigued to pick up some more of these too when I see them next. So, and as I said, they're located on Amazon. I'll go ahead and I'll put a link in the description box for those two, for Brigid and for Odin. And then if you're interested, you can search out others from there. So that's going to wrap it up for this video. If you liked it or learned something from it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button. Boo boop de boo. If you've read that book, if you've read the Brigid book, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. So let me know in the description box. If you know, maybe you didn't like it, maybe you hated it, let me know. If you're, or if you'd like to suggest another Brigid book, I'm always down for that too. I've got another Brigid book. I don't have it like within grabbing distance. But it's, something about Brigid's Flame. That's another book that I would like to read this year yet. So I'm kind of trying to get that in. But I'm always interested in other information and other sources about Brigid and Odin, just because I work with them. So that's it for that. Be sure to check out the Instagram at Heart of the Witch's Path. And there is a Facebook page. So there's a link for that in the description box. So make sure you check that out and like that page too. So that's going to wrap it up nice and neatly for this video. Thanks for watching, and thanks for taking the time to walk the path for a little while with me. Until next time, blessed be.